Hey, Mike with Rove Pest Control here. And when you think of the bald eagle, do you think of the national bird or a pest? Interestingly enough, in today's video, I'm going to talk about how some different animals that are protected have become pests, and then also how we can sometimes unknowingly create pest situations. So more and more what people are doing is transitioning into organic farming, natural pest control, different practices like that. But unfortunately, sometimes those can have unforeseen consequences. In one such case, there was a farmer, Will Harris, and basically what he did is he was trying to transition his farm into kind of a traditional means into more of an organic, natural farm. And so one thing that he did was he decided to use chickens as a form of natural pest control, and then as well as a form of natural fertilizer. So, eventually he built up to having thousands of chickens all across his farm. The grasses were going great. There weren't bug pests around. They're getting rid of the bad stuff, and, it was looking great. But unfortunately for him, a couple bald eagles started to move on in, right? And now, again, he was initially really excited, right? A couple bald eagles coming in. It's like, it's not really very often that you get to see those up close and personal, right? But unfortunately, these bald eagles developed a taste for chicken. And so what happened is, again, the word kind of got out. It spread, news travels fast, right? So what started out as one or two eagles here and there that would eat a chicken every now and then, it kind of turned into exponential growth, where now hundreds of chickens a day are being ate by these bald eagles. And again, over the years, Harris has estimated that it's done well over $100,000 of damages of lost chickens. So it's kind of crazy where these bald eagles, again, national bird, sought after, protected, have now become a pest in this situation, causing thousands of dollars of damage, on a yearly basis, and there isn't really much that can be done about it. And this is kind of a common theme that can sometimes happen when you use natural pest control. Now, again, no, not necessarily right or wrong, but one example that of natural pest control that some farmers have decided to adapt is using Asian Lady Beetles as a form of natural pest control. So again, they will feed off of different aphids that tend to feed on crops, and again, if they're allowed to do that unchecked, they can do a lot of damage to crops around the world. So introducing this natural form of pest control with this natural predator of the Asian Lady Beetle sounds like a good idea, and again, it can help keep them in check. But what happens is when seasons change, and again, temperatures go down, these Asian Lady Beetles, after harvest season, there's no more food source for them. Temperatures are dropping, staying outside in the winter starts to become deadly, so they're going to look for a new place to live. And unfortunately, the few places that are warm during the winter tend to be homes and businesses, so a lot of times they will end up becoming a pest, which was initially started out as a form of natural pest control, has now become a pest that you have to deal with. So again, it's interesting to see how sometimes this natural form of pest control can end up backfiring on the people that are implementing it. Another thing that can commonly happen, like in the situation with the bald eagles, is that a protected species can sometimes become a pest, and unfortunately there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Sometimes, again, even these animals are very beneficial as a whole to humans, but they can cause pest issues in small scenarios. So an example of this could be the honeybee, where again there's all kinds of benefits that come from honey that they produce. They pollinate thousands of plants, large majority of crops around the world. So getting rid of honeybees is not a good idea. So again, they become protected as their numbers have been continuing to diminish. But unfortunately, this can cause some unique situations where interaction with honeybees is not always the best thing, right? They can sting you, people can be allergic to them, so they can be dangerous, and especially when they decide to build their hives and nests in areas that aren't really all that convenient, right? So sometimes they could get into your house, under your siding, and become a danger, and there's not really anything that you can do about it on your own, because again, in a lot of scenarios, these honeybees are protected, and well deserved. They do benefit humanity a lot, and they are dwindling in numbers and endangered. But this creates some unique situations. So never really try and remove honeybees on your own. Definitely reach out to your local beekeeper to help them where they can conveniently remove those hives, remove those bees without killing them at the same time. Because again, it's a protected species, so you want to make sure that it stays that way, right? Another example of a pest kind of gone wrong, or something that intentionally started out as a good idea but has led to pest situations, is with the Canadian goose. So one thing that happened, back in the 50s, in some places it was actually thought to be extinct, but they found some different local families, little groups of the Canadian geese, and they, ended up protecting this species and trying to breed and increase that population. Well, flash forward into the 80s, it was to the point where they were releasing thousands of these birds all across, the world in their original habitat. But flash forward even further, due to kind of urbanization and cities coming up, these birds have now become, quote unquote pests in a lot of different areas. And like I said, they're protected in most cases, so it can be rather a nuisance, right? So as urbanization has gone up, we've built more cities. We've typically created, man-made, quote unquote watering holes or lakes, or on golf courses, different places like that, where these geese can kind of run wild, and with little to no natural predators around, it has skyrocketed their population. And with easy access to food and water sources and little to no predators in many cases, these geese, instead of being the migratory birds like they used to be, in a lot of instances, they're staying almost year-round in these city areas and around golf courses and different things like that. So again, a lot of times these are becoming pests in a sense, because they can be very aggressive. They have very bacteria-filled droppings. They're very loud and noisy, and they tend to hover and cluster in groups. So again, it can be very frustrating that they're kind of all over and numbers are increasing. In some areas, they've had a week or two where hunting is allowed of these Canadian geese, but again, almost always year-round in most places, they are protected. So again, it's just interesting to see that how some protected species can lead to pest issues, and at the same time, a lot of times when people try and use natural pest control, while there is an advantage to that, in some scenarios, especially when seasons change, now become pests around your home. So again, something definitely interesting to think about. Are you helping things become pests in the long run? But again, hopefully you guys got some benefit and value out of this video. If you did, feel free to comment and share. Again, if you do have a pest issue, be sure to head on over to rovepestcontrol.com. And if you happen to be a first-time customer with us, head on over to rovepestcontrol.com/50 off and get $50 off your first service with us. So if you're a new customer, again, head on over to rovepestcontrol.com/50 off and fill out your information there to get that great discount. But thanks again for tuning in.